He just arrived from Tunisia a week ago. He is one of the leading human rights lawyers and democracy activists in Tunisia. He has been advocating for democracy and for human rights for at least 30 years, since the 90s. He was the dean of the Lawyers Association. He held many positions. I think I sent you his resume. It's very long, but since the revolution, he also became a minister in charge of relations between the government and the parliament. Then he became ambassador of Tunisia to the United Nations in Geneva. And more recently, he was head of the Commission for the Rights of the Victims of the Revolution. He's a lawyer by profession, but he is defending many of the victims of oppression from the Ben Ali era until today, until the oppression of Qais Said and the arrests and prosecution and persecution of many opponents in Tunisia. So we are very happy to host him today. Thank you for those who were able to come to join us today in person, and also to those who are joining us online through Zoom. So we will give Mr. Abderazzak Kilani the floor for about 15 minutes. He can tell us what the latest is from Tunisia. He's going to speak in English, but if you need translation, you can hit the interpretation button and you can hear it in Arabic as well. And then after that, we will take maybe half an hour to 45 minutes of Q&A. So again, it's a great pleasure to welcome Mr. Abderazzak Kilani to Washington, and specifically to CSID here in Washington. مرحبا بك سي عبد الرزاق. تفضل عندك الكلمة.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all. I wish you welcome to this conference. First, I remark that my English is not very well, but I try to express what I want to express, and will be helped by my friend Radwan if there is some difficulties. First, I would remember for all that Tunisian had done a revolution in 2011, January 2011. And as you know, this revolution, which called the revolution of freedom and dignity, give us a constitution assembly, which was elected by the people. I remember it was a very double feast for us, these elections. And this assembly gives us a very beautiful constitution, which is the constitution of 27 January 2040. This constitution gives us a modern system with 3 authorities, as in the democratic country: legislative authority, executive authority, judicial authority, and also give us nearly all the universal rights and freedoms, freedoms of expression, freedom of thought, freedom of religion, and so it was for us a very important realization and it was a model in the region. Tunisia was a model in the region because we have begin since 2011 a period of democratic transition, which was which we have three elections, and as you know, the only country which resists in the Arabic Spring is Tunisia. But malheureusement, as you know, since the coup of Qais Said in 2050 of July 2021, since this coup, Tunisia now is a country without institution. Why I say this? Because since this date, Qais Said has nearly all the powers, and he has the executive power, the legislative power. You know, he's leading the legislative power by decree law, and now he put his hands on the judicial power, which is very dangerous thing, because judicial power guarantees the rights and the freedoms, and he conducted a campaign, as you know, against the judges, first by dissolving the High Judiciary Council. Then he dismissed 57 judges without permit them to defend themselves, without any charges, and even that the judges go to the appeal court, to administrative appeal court, and obtain a decision which suspended the execution of this decree of the president. The executive power Said refused to respect this decision of the appeal court, of the administrative court. So we are now leading a campaign to support the judges, and we have found a committee which is composed by the former president of the Bar Association and some lawyers, and we are now defending these judges and defending the independence of justice. As you know, now, as Qais Said has put his hands on all the power, even the judicial power, the independence of the justice is not guaranteed in Tunisia. So I launch an appeal for the defender of the value of freedoms and democracy to support Tunisian judges in their fighting to have their independence and to have to work as judges in any democracy. So this the first message that I would like to give you. The second is that, as you know, we had elections last week, and this election had give us very bad participation of electors. As you know, 11%. 11% is the official percent which was given by the instance of the elections, and this result of the election give out the message that Qais Said has lost his legality, his legitimacy, and so all the forces which are against the coup said him to leave the power, because the people has asked him to stop it, his tragedy, because as you know, Said has a plan in his mind, and this plan isn't the plan of the citizen, Tunisian citizen, because the plan of Tunisian citizen is social, economic problems which had, and I think that now the international community has to help Tunisian to stop it, this strategy and this tragedy. And I will ask you also that there is also a judgment which is rendered by the African Court of on Human and People's Rights, which the judgment date for 22 September 2022, and the judgment asked to the government, the Tunisian government, to return to the legitimate and to the constitutional system which is before the coup of 25 July. So I think that this judgment, which is rendered by this African court, which is recognized first by the Tunisian government, because the Tunisian government signed the convention which created this court. So the Tunisian government has to recognize the judgment. Then the international community also has to make pressure to arrive that the Tunisian government applicate this judgment. So I think that now our fighting is for the state of law and the state of institution, and it's, I think, the fighting of all the people who believe in value of freedom and value of democracy. There is another question which is very important, I think, to tell you about. It's the situation of freedoms and rights in Tunisia. As you know, as Said is now putting his hands on all the powers, even the judicial power. We have a lot of personality which are judged by penal court, journalists, political, parliamentary lawyers, and also he uses military justice to eliminate the opposite of the regime of Said. So I think also that it's very important to denounce that the tradition of or the judgment of civil persons before exceptional tribunal, because the military tribunal is an exceptional tribunal which do not guarantee trial judgment. So I think that you have also to help us to stop this tragedy and to preserve the value of our revolution, these values which have give us 100, 300 of martyrs. And I think that we have to be fidel,
Loyal.
yes.
Or faithful.
Yes. So for the martyrs of the revolution, and we have to preserve the acquis of the revolution.
Achievements, accomplishments, achievements.
So voilà, excuse me, j'ai fait un effort. I do an effort to speak English, but I think that it's clear for you this presentation. If you have any question, I am there to defend. Remark in the end, this speech is I think I hope that will not be interpreted as a demand to interfere in our country. It's to launch cry for the fighters and the person for the world who believe in the value of freedoms and democracy, to help this little country to return to the democratic process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abderazzak, for this very important introduction. We now go to questions, either from the audience here in the room or people online. So, Bill?
I have about five.
Five questions.
I'm going to ask one. And then we'll go around and
okay.
you come back to me.
Okay, good.
Simplest question. How is this similar and different from the Ben Ali era? You know, we often hear in Washington that, you know, there's still democracy in Tunisia, but it's backsliding. But, you know, I lived in Tunisia in the 90s and the 2000s. This feels worse. You know, Ben Ali didn't rule by decree. Ben Ali didn't fire judges. So could you compare, you know, what's better, what's worse, what's different about this situation legally, you know, in terms of the judiciary versus the Ben Ali era?
Shuf, if I try to compare Ben Ali, I think he tried to respect the institutions, but he used the justice, for example, to gold, marqué des buts, to score. So against his opponent, but Ben Ali has limits. Limits because he have institution experts with him, which consult him, advised him. So it's not the same. This what is doing now, Qais Said. It's he has a project in his in his mind. He has a project, as you know, it's a project he teamed as the project of Gaddafi. He believed in the people decided themselves. He believed in the power of the people, and he don't believe in the institution. For example, he's now he's trying to eliminate the parties. As you know, he did an electoral system which the parties hasn't a role in the elections. So he has an idea which is not the preoccupation of the Tunisian. The preoccupations of Tunisia are social, economic, and I recognize that the political hasn't helped to fix it. The attention, all the attention on the economic and social problems. So they go in confrontation, ideological confrontations about a plate of Islam, about ideological about ideology. So the political also has as you know the l'image, the image of the political are you see it through the debate in the parliament. You know, the debate in the parliament was transferred directly by the TV, and the people are seeing how the parliamentary was sometimes, not all times, because all times they are fighting. It's not the truth. So
there were people also who did that on purpose to
agent
provocateur to destroy the image of the parliament and of democracy.
Yes, he worked.
Look at all the spy teams.
So Said works on these images, and also he used popular speech such as you know me, I don't like rich people, and rich people for him are bad. So because he considered that they are corrupt, that's why they are rich, for example. And when he decided to dissolve the High Judiciary Council, he began this by a campaign against judges, qualified them as corrupted and as a criminal, and asked in the official speech in the Council of the Minister. He addressed the speech to the people to ask them to help him in dissolving the Judiciary Council and in dismissed for his decision dismissed 57 of judges.
Could I ask a follow-up on his
Sure.
project? So this is my second question. How is he as a constitutional lawyer? We know that he helped defend Ben Ali in the early 90s. We know that when he lectures US politicians on New York law or Connecticut law, he gets it wrong. We know he doesn't understand habeas corpus, and he draws the wrong conclusions about the Civil War to make autocratic conclusions, and that he spent twice as much time teaching a misinterpretation of American law in his lecture at University of Tunisia than he spent teaching all of the constitutions of Europe, twice as much on a misreading of American. So our perspective is he's a terrible constitutional lawyer. What's your perspective on his understanding of constitutional law?
let's get something clear. First of all, he's not a full professor.
Yes.
You know,
He's a
this is a lecturer. He's an assistant
He didn't
professor.
finish his thesis.
He never finished his PhD, and he never became a full professor. Assistant is basically like a graduate student.
I've been a lecturer and I was good.
Yeah, but he's not a professor, because sometimes they say he's a professor of law.
And I've had full professors. You're right.
Yeah.
And it's right to point out the qualifications, but does he even understand constitutional law, or is he just an ideologue using constitutional law?
I think that
vision or something.
I think that all body was surprised by the project of Qais Said. I think even that before his election, he talked about his project. So after his election, all body was surprised. And he remember that he do a declaration which talk about his project. But now, as you say, game is over. Because when we talk without our friends, they ask us that Said is popular. So what he is doing is good for the country. But now, after the election, the result of the last election, I think that game is over. And
Does he understand what a constitution is? Does he understand democracy? Just the basics of democracy. Does he understand?
He has an idea which seemed to the project of Gaddafi. اللجان الشعبية popular committee.
You don't consider Gaddafi a constitutional lawyer or knowledgeable about democracy.
Exactly.
So could say he's a disaster as a constitutional lawyer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Any other questions? Jeffrey?
شحوين نجاز حبيبي.
I have a question going back to this past electoral event, and it's an honest question. I'm not trying to take a position here, but we know that the turnout was abysmal. It was one of the worst, I think the worst in African electoral history.
Second worst in the world.
At least recorded.
Yeah.
But I guess it's the leap. Don't we have to be careful of the leap that because there was low turnout, that is a referendum on Said himself and his popularity? I guess you could make the argument that it was about people not caring about this. That doesn't mean that they aren't supportive or want to see.
But this,
move.
Jeffrey, this is the
May
project.
have been the candidates may have been about based on previous parliaments. I just think that we have to be careful. We face this in lots of places where there were boycotts and assumptions that low turnout is equated with the boycott, and therefore there is a mass change of opinion or movement. And that's my question.
NDI polling?
What's that?
NDI polling?
We don't have
On
polling
that?
on this. No, and certainly not that quickly.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my question: is don't we have to what do we make that assumption, or do we risk ascribing a false connectivity to popularity in the direction that it's going relative to one event?
فهمت السؤال؟ يعني هل لو تورناوت هذه ال 10 ولا 11% مش بالضروره تمثل النزول الشعبيه بتاع قيس سعيد. ميبي هو ما زالت عنده شعبيه كرئيس، والناس ما حبوش يشاركوا خاطر ما يؤمنوش بالبرلمان، ولا يعتبروا البرلمان ما شافوش مرشحين باهين يعني، ولا الكوره ولا اسباب اخرى. يعني هل مش بالضروره انه الشعبيه
I don't think that that's what the partisans of Qais Said said. But the truth is that Qais Said has lost his legitimaity and his legality. And we are expected, all body is expected for these results, disastrous results of the election. So I think I think that for him, the game is over. And he has to leave.
Because this, Jeffrey, is the project of Qais Said. What they are boycotting, or what they boycotted now, is what he's been calling for. And this is, it was meant to legitimize, his approach to governance and his constitution and all that. So
And the most dangerous thing is that the world doesn't understand the message of Tunisian people. The message of Tunisian people, I think, is clear. Qais Said has to leave, and he lost his legitimacy. And the most dangerous thing is that we'll go directly for a civil war, because he's always asking to his supporters to defend his project, and they are a minority of. In fact, his supporters are a minority, and this minority are very dangerous. They are very dangerous. So I think that we haven't to give the result of the election, of the last election. I think that we have to give the result of the election the importance. For us, it's very important things for the future of Tunisia.
Yes, Manjir.
First of all, it's a pleasure to see Nabi في واشنطن. It's an honor.
أنا نعم في المجهود نتكلم بالإنجليزية. J'essaie de faire un effort.
No, you're doing an excellent job, mashallah. And I'm pleased you're speaking in good English. Very good. Yeah. We're always happy to see somebody that communicates well, especially somebody in your stature and leadership. I think the point that Jeff you raised is an excellent point, and it makes us actually evaluate these numbers for what they are. If we were in a situation where we have a constitution that everybody agrees on, we have an electoral law that was passed by everybody, and then we have an election where people chose for political reasons to boycott, and then we can make this point, and I think it's correct to make that it's not a referendum on the president because his name is not on the ballot. However, I think in specifically this election, we are running on a constitution that he wrote. We are running using a law that he wrote. We are using a system that he chose, a system that only allows the people that he's okay with to run.
That excludes political
parties. Everybody. So yes, these results are a referendum on not his name as a president, but his entire project. That the Tunisian people said, we are not buying this. This is not how we want to be governed. This is not how we want to go. This direction has failed, just like the Carter Center has put it very plainly and clearly that this roadmap has failed, and we need a new one. That should be very clear to anybody and everybody that's looking at this election. Yes, this election did not say that the opposition is great, did not say that we're going to choose Najib al-Shabi or Abir Morsi or anybody else. They did not say that. Absolutely, I agree with you, and we need to make that clear. For us to be able to know what does the Tunisian people want, I think we need to give them another chance. I think we need to level the playing field, have everybody run on a platform that we all agree on, and at least overwhelming majority agrees on, with an electoral law that opens the doors for everybody to run equally.
Framework.
The framework, absolutely, yeah. In terms of the constitution, laws, whatever it is, at least that the Tunisians feel that they're not excluded, that the law is not against them. Then we can say where the Tunisian people want to go, who do they want to be governed with.
If I can add one point, I think this helps the discussion. In the States, we say people is policy, and policy of people, and who you put in a job has a lot to do. And we equate in U.S. politics up between people in politics, in the North African context, in the same vein, we talk about Zionism, right? And each party, each organization, the presidency itself is the Zai, right? And anecdotally, as I talked to a lot of pro-Kayseri Tunisians, they keep saying, we agreed with July 25th, we don't like this guy, we have the wrong guy. And when they say the wrong guy in the Zionist context, they're also saying we don't like his policies. So now there's an equation between him and the project. Anecdotally, that's why I'm asking about Boeing. You know, I met very, very few Kayseri supporters or apologists in the CSO community who say, let's give him another chance. Nobody's saying that. So that.
But also to be honest about it, I think it's a rejection of Qais Said. It's also a rejection of everybody else. That's what we have. Yeah. So that's the crisis. The nature of the crisis is that there is no agreement on anybody, on any individual or any party. Or so it's a disappointing. People are disappointed that democracy, in their eyes, has not delivered the results that they expected. Tunisians expected after 10 years that the situation would be much, much better, both politically, but especially economically. And I think it's fair to say that the pandemic, COVID, had a lot to do with it. That, 2020, 2021 were very, very difficult years in Tunisia. I was there in those 2 years, and people were really suffering. The economy in 2020 dropped by about 10%. So that's
plus supply chain, plus Ukraine war and the food crisis.
Exactly, and then it got worse with other things. Tourism was basically dead for 2 years, and we know that 400,000 people work in the tourism industry. Most of them were fired. They couldn't work. So the situation was dire before July 25, and that's why people were hoping that, hey, maybe he's the savior, maybe he has a plan, maybe he can save the economy and put us back on the right track, and also fighting corruption and other problems. But I think now the judgment is very clear that he doesn't have a plan, and that he doesn't know what he's doing, and that basically the situation is much worse today than it was even July 25, economically and socially and in every aspect, and especially politically. So I think now there is an agreement that this guy has got to go. His project is over. He doesn't have a plan, and his plan is not working, and is destroying the country. But there is no alternative yet. And I think that's what's missing in Tunisia right now. I don't know if you can speak about that, Abderazzak.
No,
What is the alternative? What is the solution to get out of this crisis? What does the opposition propose?
First, I would like to do a remark to our friends that as the situation of the country is not clear, I mean political. The political situation is not clear. We haven't now institutions. The institution of judiciary, how it is important, for example, for investment. If there is no justice, independent justice, free justice in Tunisia, we will not have investment. So will not have job for young people. So this I think that this remark is very, very important for the.
What is the alternative?
The alternative
solution?
I think it's simple. The alternative. I think the alternative is in the decision of the African Court of Human and Human Rights. We say that the Tunisian government have to put on an end to the exceptional measures and return to constitutional democracy and respect the constitution. To the democracy, to the legitimacy, to the constitution of 2014. 14.
And who mediates the African Union?
Pardon?
Who mediates
Mediates what?
this transition? Because normally the African Union, when they exclude a member because of the coup, right? They'll send in mediators that'll try to figure out the transition back to democracy. So are you recommending maybe the African Union play the mediation role?
يعني شكون اللي يسهل الحوار والانتقال؟
I think that now the opposites to the COP of 20 July are discussing to try to find an accord, an agreement to solve the country, because the country is in danger. It's a very, very dangerous situation, Tunisia. And I think that for the peace in the world, it's important for the international community to help Tunisia also, because you know Tunisia occupied a very important strategic position in Africa and in the Mediterranean Sea. So if Tunisia will go to the regime, despotic regime, you know, a despotic regime give in all country extremists, terrorism, and I think that this question is very important. That Tunisia, which was an example. I remember, for example, I was in Washington in 2013 during the campaign of the presidential election. I remember the speech, the speech of Obama in I think the end speech.
2012.
2012.
Obama was elected in 2012.
He consacred a paragraph to speak about Tunisia as an example in Spring Arabic. So it's Tunisia. I think it's very important for the freedom world, for the Occidental world, and
especially for the Arab world.
And I think that during these 10 years, which was the transition, democratic transition, Tunisia hasn't benefited for help from the world free world. I remember, for example, Germany, the First World War, benefited of Plan Marshall to return to the democracy. France also was helped by the USA after. So Tunisia wasn't helped during this period of democratic transition, and I think it's a mistake from our friends also. So I think that the alternative is simple: it's to return to the democracy, to return to the constitutional, the legal constitution of 2014, and I think that we have to organize election under the law of before the law, which give us Qais Said, and the parties will have to return to their role in democratic system, in democratic regimes. And I think that the civil society in Tunisia is very developed and very conscious of the of the situation of their country, they have to help to go out this very difficult situation. Yes.
First, I should thank you for the presentation. But I'm curious who you see leading this return, calling for this return to a constitutional democratic system. We've seen a few different opposition movements arise, both from political parties and civil society, but there isn't yet a unified opposition force that can represent. And you mentioned briefly that you're starting to see these opposition groups collaborate. I was wondering if you could expand on that.
We have in Tunisia, we have a special situation because after the revolution of 2011, the civil society discovered the democracy and went in the best way and the problem is they then don't find the born frontier between political and civil activity. So that's the problem now in Tunisia, I think. So I think that civil society parties have to make entente, agreement, to make an agreement to find the solution by negotiation, by dialogue, and to save the country.
But what about the divided opposition? The opposition seems to be too fragmented and too divided to really impose, on his side, a return to democracy or a return to the constitution. How do you see the future in the next, month or 6 months?
I think that the opposition, if they go in their division, it will be suicidaire, opération suicidaire. So I think that they have to find together a solution to conduct the country to return to the democratic and to the constitutional.
But are you optimistic that they are able to do this?
I think.
هل تظن كذلك do you think شو اسمه Ghazi Shawashi, Hamdi and others who left the Tayyar now, and today I think he announced that in January 14 that Ghazi Shawashi and others are going to have they're going to suggest a way
I think
for
that
all the opposition to come. Al-Ittihad also, yesterday, especially the statement that they wrote is very clear that they cut off any hope with the president. They're calling for a dialogue. Everybody's calling for a dialogue, but so
everybody's calling, but nobody's responding.
Do you think these are signs? Maybe we're going to see some coalition into some kind of form of to answer the question.
I think that the situation now is that whole body is calculated. But I think that that calculated is very dangerous. It's very dangerous, and we have to choose between democracy or despotic regime. So I think that our political are intelligent to understand this question. And the problem, as you know, Moji is not Islamic party. For the we have some influences and strange influences from some Gulf, some country of the Gulf, for example, Emirates, for example, is doing a pressure to eliminate the Islamic Party. Or I think the Islamic Party give us a very civil constitution. This constitution of 27 January was given by two secular party and the Islamic Party, which give us.
And more importantly, it was adopted by almost unanimity, and 200 out of 217.
Which give us, for example, the state is the guardian of religion. It guarantees freedom of conscience and belief, and the free exercise of religious and the practice, and the neutrality of mosques and places of worship from all parties and simultaneously. So this Islamic Party, Muslim Party, I say, but not Islam, Muslim Party, give us a democratic regime, a democratic system, which is, as I say, model. Obama speaks.
Kilani, that part of the Constitution of the U.S. it would probably be rejected in Tunisia, it would probably be rejected by a big number of Americans. So
we have a couple more questions. Yes, please.
My question is, do you think, from your perspective,